Welcome to Keeping It Real, the YouTube Lab. I'm Sarah Maslowski, and each month I teach real estate agents how to use YouTube to grow their business, work inbound leads, and turn content into clients. Plus, we're going to have interviews with agents who are doing this successfully. I am a full-time real estate agent, and over the last several years, I've closed more than $150 million in real estate transactions directly from YouTube. Last year alone, I closed $28 million in volume with serving over 40 families. And every single one of those clients came from YouTube. No Zillow, no paid leads, no cold calling, no door knocking, just inbound clients who already trusted me before we ever spoke in person. This segment exists because most agents are being taught YouTube completely backwards, or worse, they are posting videos everywhere, all over social media platforms with zero results. They're told to post more, chase trends, go viral, or act like influencers. Meanwhile, you're exhausted, you're being inconsistent, and you're still not getting clients. In the YouTube Lab, we're doing the exact opposite. We're talking about how real estate agents can use YouTube to attract serious buyers and sellers, work inbound leads correctly, and build a business that doesn't rely on chasing people. And I know all of this because I've been directly in your shoes if you're resonating with any of that. Let me start with why YouTube works when nothing else seems to. So, the consumer journey has changed, but real estate advice hasn't. Buyers and sellers don't want to be sold anymore. They really want clarity and they want context. And they also want to understand where they're moving, what it costs, what life looks like day to day, and what the trade offs are. When someone is relocating or even just moving within a metro area, they go to YouTube long before they ever talk to an agent. That is where you have the opportunity to build trust. Now, before YouTube, my business looked like a lot of agents, probably you that are listening right now. My business looked like yours. I was busy all of the time, but not always productive. I was working every single weekend, sitting open houses where, I was lucky if a neighbor stopped by, and those didn't go anywhere. And I was constantly feeling like I needed to, hustle harder just to maintain momentum. I was drowning in that hustle culture, and I was just simply over it. The problem wasn't that I wasn't putting in the effort. The problem was leverage. I realized that I was spending all my time talking to people who did not know me, they didn't trust me, and often weren't even serious. If you've ever worked as a lead or online leads, you know how much it takes to track a lead down and call them over and over and over again and get hung up over and over and over again before you finally get an opportunity to talk to someone that has some level of interest. When I started YouTube, it was very uncomfortable. I didn't have a plan, I didn't have fancy equipment, and I definitely did not feel confident on camera. But I knew that I kept seeing over and over again that video was the way to go. And I was stuck trying to figure out how to make it work. And in doing that, I kept thinking that I needed to sound like super polished or professional. What I actually found out that I needed was to answer questions honestly and consistently. Once I shifted from trying to market myself to simply explaining my area, my entire business changed. And this is the first core lesson that I teach agents. YouTube is not about you, it's about the move. Most agents fail because they start with content that centers around yourself. Things like listing videos or interviews with lenders or showing off their favorite coffee shops or taco restaurants. And I know this because these are all videos that I've actually made and that I did in the beginning of my YouTube journey. In fact, you can go scroll all the way down to the very beginning of my channel and you're still going to find those cringy videos there today. And you know what? I've never received one phone call from that great taco restaurant that I interviewed the owner and showed off all of their great tacos. No one ever called me to actually help them buy or sell from that video. And so what I found through this journey is that none of those types of videos matter to a buyer trying to decide if relocating is the right move. And so this is the key here, is that the types of videos that work the best on YouTube to bring inbound leads that are warm, willing, ready, and they want to work with you is making relocation-based content, making content that surrounds and answers questions that people have about moving there. You want to make sure that your content matches that search intent, so that if someone is typing a question into YouTube, your video should answer it. The foundation of my entire YouTube strategy and what I found that works really well is what I call search first content. These are long form videos built around questions that people are already asking. It's not trendy topics. You don't really have to worry about viral hooks. You just have to provide real questions tied to real decisions and provide the answer and the information that someone would need to know whenever they are, researching where they're going to live. Because think about it. If you are a buyer and you found out that your spouse got a job in a different city and it's somewhere that you've never been before, and so obviously you're running to the internet to go find out, like, hey, what is it like living here in this area? And what do I need to know about this? And of course, you're doing a Google search. Well, guess what pops up in Google whenever you go to research something? Of course, you're going to get websites. Now we have AI search results, and we'll get to that. But you're also going to get served videos that match what you're searching for. So even if you weren't even going on YouTube to begin with to find the actual answer, you have a high propensity of getting people to watch your videos, because Google is then going to find your video and match it with the answer to that question and serve it as something that can be a valuable piece of content to that person that's searching. And today we have the benefit of also that those videos are also showing up in AI search results. AI is crawling YouTube videos and reading the transcripts and pulling information out of it that way. So even if someone's not going into Google to search for this information, but they're using other AI engines to research things, that's even another powerful way that you're going to get served up to people that are searching for more information on the area that they're going to move to. So let's talk about the types of videos that you should actually be making as it relates to this relocation-based search intent videos. The first type of video that every agent should make is a true pros and cons video about their city, town, or neighborhood. And I want to be very clear about this. Honesty is what makes these videos convert. You want to make sure that you tell the pros and the cons, and heavy emphasis here on the cons. When you talk openly about things like traffic, taxes, school ratings, commute times, and the cost differences, you immediately are separating yourself from other agents who only paint a perfect picture. You're immediately building that trust with those people that are watching your video. They need to know this information. This is what cannot be served up by a blog. And this is what cannot be served up by just a general article talking about how this is such a great place to live. People really want to know the nitty gritty and the things that aren't so great about living there. And whenever you provide that information, you are providing true relationship, trust, authority building information that is helping that viewer say, okay, I like what this person has to say. Let me go watch more of what they are watching. And this is where the magic really happens. Now, the second category that consistently produces high intent leads is cost of living content. And this is where most agents stay kind of vague, and that's a mistake. Buyers really want numbers. They want to understand housing costs. They want to know what the utilities look like. They want to know groceries, property taxes. What do homeowners insurance look like? Are there any additional type of expenses that they need to take into consideration? Are private schools a huge thing in the area because the public schools don't have that great of rankings? All of those things and lifestyle expenses are what people need to know. And when you walk through the real numbers, you position yourself as the local authority, and you also filter out those people who aren't serious. Because this is the type of video that you're only going to spend time actually watching if you're seriously considering a move to a specific area. The people who keep watching are the ones who will reach out. And that is the magic, is that you are providing such great information that someone's not just watching one of your videos, they're not watching two of your videos. They're binge watching your content before they even reach out to you. Now, the third type of video that is super foundational for your channel is the neighborhood driving tour types of videos. Now, this does not need to be complicated. Get in your car, mount your phone, and drive. Or if you're like me and you want to do it super low budget and you don't have a car mount, you can get in your car, drive real slow, and hold your phone out your window while you're getting some good B-roll and drive. Show the streets, the homes, the parks, the shopping, show the overall feel of what it's like being there. People want to visualize their life. They want to see actual footage of what types of neighborhoods they could live in, where are they going to go take their kids to school, where is the grocery stores, what does the local Target look like? How far are they going to have to drive for things like entertainment and all those types of things? Like, this is the great information that people want to know. These videos are powerful because they reduce uncertainty. By the time someone contacts you, they already feel familiar with the area. And here's the thing, they feel familiar with you because you've built up that trust. Because again, they're not just watching one or two of your videos. Occasionally, you might have someone that reaches out that only watches one or two, but I often hear from clients that we help that they've been watching videos for months, sometimes up to a year before they ever reach out. And so that is super, super powerful. Now, let's talk about conversion, because views don't matter if they don't turn into conversations. And at the end of the day, this is what we want, right? This is why we're making YouTube videos, is because we want people to actually watch and then call us. This was the biggest frustration that I had as an agent when I was making a regular type of content. And honestly, it's the biggest pain point that I often hear from agents that are making other forms of social media content. They're getting the views, but those views aren't turning into conversations. They aren't getting the opportunity to have people raise their hand and say, hey, we're thinking about making a move and we want you to help us. And one of the biggest mistakes that agents make is being super aggressive with calls to action, specifically with YouTube videos. YouTube viewers don't want to be sold. They want permission to reach out. And so in every video, I give people a clear, low pressure way to raise their hand. In fact, I don't offer relocation guides or anything of that sort. I simply just say, hey, if you're watching this video and you're thinking about making a move, I help people just like you every single day relocate here to the Metro Atlanta area. You can find my contact information directly below this video. Now, I am not a fan of relocation guides because I don't want a bunch of looky-loos. I want people that are seriously interested in relocating and that have a high intent. Therefore, I know that if I put my contact information out there and you take the time to reach out to me, you are a very warm, qualified lead, and that is definitely worth my time. Now, that simple approach changes the entire dynamic. By the time someone reaches out, like I said, they've often watched a lot of your videos. And sometimes I even hear from families how they're like, oh, we put YouTube up on our TV and that's what we watch at dinner or after dinner. And the whole family sits and watches you. And it's kind of embarrassing, but you'll hear people say things like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm getting the opportunity to talk with you. I feel like, I'm talking to someone that is on a TV show. And so it's kind of weird because in my mind, I'm thinking like, y'all, I filmed this on my iPhone and, it's very, very low budget. So, clients, people that are watching you, they have a much, much higher perception of you. These people are high intent leads and they aren't price shopping agents. They aren't asking who you are. They're not really interviewing that much because your videos have already provided the interview. Your role at that point is not to sell yourself, it's just to guide them. So you're just rolling straight into that buyer consult. And lead handling is where most agents drop the ball. And here's the great thing, YouTube leads are not like portal leads. They're not like any other online leads. However, they do require some patience and education. just like any other, but your videos have already provided a lot of that education. I teach agents to slow down the process, ask better questions, because oftentimes when people are reaching out to you off of these videos, although they may have a good idea of where they want to be from your videos, you still have to provide a lot more soul seeking, clarifying questions to find out like what is going to be the best areas for them, especially if they've never been here to the area or they've only been a handful of times and they're trying to figure out where they're going to put their money and buy a house. So I focus on being helpful instead of transactional. And of course, we all do that in anything that we do here in real estate. But it's so much fun because these types of leads really allow you to play that educator. And when you do that, YouTube leads convert at a much higher rate with far less friction. Now, another misconception that I want to clear up early is consistency. So here's some pros and cons about YouTube videos. The great thing about YouTube is that it only takes one video per week. So that's only 4 per month. And one high quality intentional video per week is enough. Now, you do need to provide a long form content video. So long form needs to be at least 8 minutes long. The kind of the sweet spot is if you can get to that 10 to 12 minute mark. And so obviously that's going to take a little bit more time in putting together that video and making sure that it's at least, 10 minutes that someone can actually watch. Now, most agents are going to batch 2 videos at a time. That's the method that I found worked really well and that a lot of other agents do too. Heck, you could even do all 4 at one time. But let's just say that you go with 2. That's 2 times a month. You are sitting down filming content, and that's pretty easy to do. What matters is that you stay consistent over time. YouTube is a long play. You're not going to see instant wins or have a lot of great success up front in a short period of time. That's not to say that it can't happen, but you have to go into this knowing that this is a long game. You're planting seeds and you're making these videos. You're teaching the YouTube algorithm how to find your videos and how to put them in front of the right people. We're going to get into this in future episodes. And you just need to know that YouTube rewards consistency, not intensity. Agents who quit after 3 months, well, those are the ones who never see results. And agents who commit for a year, you're going to build pipelines that compound. In fact, if I go back and look at my pipeline and the amount of leads that I've closed from YouTube since 2020, when I started making these videos, it has grown every single year. And in fact, there was double-digit growth those first 2 to 3 years because of this compounding effect that's so great with YouTube. Now, let's talk about equipment because this stops a lot of people before they start. I know that you're thinking in your mind, you're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of equipment that I need. How do I get all this done? And here's the great news. You do not need a fancy camera. You don't need a studio. You just need an iPhone and a basic wireless mic. You're going to need some good lighting, but heck, you could even do that in front of a great window. That is more than enough. And in fact, that's what I've done for years. I filmed all of my videos up until recently on my iPhone. I only recently upgraded to a real camera. And y'all, let me tell you, my iPhone was so much easier and honestly, almost just as good. It's one of those things where it's like, it's just so much of a headache to get everything set up on a nice camera because there's so many more settings where an iPhone, you just put it on a tripod, you push the button and you're good to go. It takes all the guesswork out of it. And honestly, I wish I would have saved my $1,000 on my fancy schmancy camera. And it also would have saved me hours and hours and hours of tweaking with it to make things look good. So just know that you can start with very, very basic equipment and that can carry you a long way. Good microphone, good lighting, that's really all you need. Viewers care far more about clarity and honesty than production value. In fact, some of my very first videos that brought me some of my first YouTube closings were videos that I filmed on my iPhone, but were really bad videos. I'm talking bad audio. I was awkward. I was nervous, didn't quite know what I was doing. And I was providing that value. that viewers watched. And so that taught me, again, that viewers don't necessarily care about the production value. They care about the information that you're providing. And waiting for perfect conditions is just another way of procrastinating. The saying in the real estate world that done is the enemy of perfection, or perfection is the enemy of done. That's how it goes. So we can get ready to get ready to get ready. But at some point, you just have to put your iPhone on a tripod, hook up the microphone, and go. The most important shift you need to make is a mental one. You're not becoming a YouTuber. You are a real estate agent using YouTube to build that trust with an audience and gain clients. That mindset is what is going to keep you grounded if you cannot make that shift. It keeps your content focused and it keeps you from chasing metrics that don't matter. Now, this is really important. In the beginning, when you start making YouTube content, you are going to be hyper-focused on how many views you're getting and how many subscribers you have. Don't focus on that. Focus on consistently showing up every single week, putting out a video. After about 3 to 4 months, you should be able to tell if what you're doing is actually working. Within 3 to 4 months, you should start getting some people reaching out to you. It's going to be really slow at first. I want to repeat this. It's going to be slow. Your subscribers are going to be slow. The views are going to be slow. But are you getting someone that reaches out to you? That is what counts, because those people that reach out to you, they turn into closings, and closings are what counts. At the end of the day, we are real estate agents. We are not influencers. We're not content creators. We need real estate closings. Last year, I closed over $28 million directly from YouTube, and that didn't happen because I cracked an algorithm. It happened because I consistently showed up as a resource for people who were already planning a move. I met them early in their decision process. I answered their questions honestly, and I stayed visible long enough for them to trust me and get to know me. And your future clients are on YouTube right now, and they're searching for things in your city, your county, your neighborhoods. They are seeking out this information. And either they're watching someone else's videos, or they're finding that, hey, I'm just having to go through blogs and trust what AI says because there's not videos out there for me to watch. The only question is whether or not you are going to be that someone that is going to show up and make that video and provide the information for you. If you do nothing else after listening to this episode, film a pros and cons video about your area this week. Keep it simple, be honest, post the video. This is Keeping It Real, the YouTube Lab. In future episodes, we're going to break down real channels, real lead conversations, and real agent success stories so you can see exactly how this works in practice. So if you want ongoing guidance, strategy breakdowns, and behind the scenes insight into what's working right now with YouTube for real estate agents, follow me over on Instagram at YouTube with Sarah. That's where I share practical advice you can actually apply. I'll see you in the next episode.